And I rise today as a humble member of this body, representing the people of Florida's 18th Congressional District since 2013. And 4 years ago, I came to Congress to work as an independent thinker toward bipartisan solutions, making sure that we are moving our country forward, but also moving our nation forward. And to that end, I started the United Solutions Caucus with like-minded members from both sides of the aisle. Working together, we introduced major bipartisan legislation that would cut nearly $500 billion in government spending over 10 years by rooting out waste, inefficiencies, and finding some wasteful spending. I'm proud that several of the common sense measures outlined in the SAVE Act were actually passed as part of the House annual appropriations process, showing that both parties can actually work together to get our fiscal house in order. And furthermore, I've been proud of the bipartisan work of our state's delegation to put Florida first. Together, we passed major legislation that I introduced with Congressman Dennis Ross from Florida to introduce the flood insurance market, giving Florida families more options for flood insurance coverage by bringing down the cost of those policies. As the founder of the co-chair of the bipartisan Citrus Caucus, I worked with my colleagues Tom Rooney and Vern Buchanan to secure almost $150 million for citrus greening research that is vital to our state's iconic orange industry. We also passed legislation to incentives for replanting efforts to help the local farmers impacted by greening. And just last week, the House passed the Wingman Act I introduced with Congressman Ted Yoho from Florida to remove barriers that prevent congressional staff who already are working closely with the VA and local veterans on their claims from being able to update constituents in a more timely manner. This change would help alleviate the burden on VA staff, better serve the veterans by expediting the claims process, and help tackle the backlog of cases. We also brought members together, not just from Florida, but across the nation, to bring attention to the crisis in our local waterways and highlight the urgent need for Everglades restoration efforts to help provide a long-term relief for our communities. I will never forget how touched and humbled I was to see more than 100 Floridians make their trip to Washington. Some of those folks came up 14 hours by bus to have their voices heard at a historic congressional briefing on our waterways that I helped host in October of 2013. In the midst of a government shutdown, 22 members of Congress, including Democrats and Republicans, Senator Bill Nelson, Leader Nancy Pelosi, and the House Committee on Transportation Infrastructure Chairman Bill Schuster came together with experts, community leaders, and residents to raise awareness for advocates of the solutions that are needed. Every day, I'm given extraordinary opportunities to help the people of Palm Beach and the Treasure Coast. Every day, I'm afforded an opportunity to make a difference in a person's life. I'm proud that over the past 4 years, we have assisted thousands of constituents, helping to return over $4 million in earned benefits for the district. Those are life-changing results that partisan bickering cannot take away. You see, too often the negative attacks and partisanship overshadow the issues that actually matter to American families. We desperately need a new era of politics with leaders who put their country before their party, who solve problems instead of pointing fingers, and who are committed to service. While the outcome of this past election was not what I'd hoped for our state or for our nation, there is still a window of opportunity for new leaders to make changes in America that our country is clearly yearning for. You know, much of the system is broken, from the money in politics to the corporate influences and the gerrymandering. There is too much outside impact influencing our election process. And I also agree that many laws and regulations could use adjustments to work better for the American people and for our country. But let us remember that the outcome of this past election was not a mandate for many of the policy actions that are being discussed right now. Instead, we saw a still divided nation, making it more important than ever that we have solutions that work for all Americans, not some Americans. And that is why I hope to see a new focus on tackling climate change, tax reform, investing in our infrastructure, rebuilding the middle class, improving educational opportunities, and protecting our country from the threats of cyber attacks and terrorism. All things I championed during my time in this chamber. But above all, I hope that we do not move our country backwards. That requires leaders who can unite us, not fear and lies to further divide this country. I will always be the first to say that we must work together, not as Democrats, not as Republicans, but as Americans. However, we cannot simply gloss over the hateful and divisive rhetoric that plagued our country this past year. The United States is better than this, and the world is watching. As an eternal optimist, I'm hopeful that our leaders will work together to begin to heal these wounds and move our country forward together, showing that we are stronger than those who wish to divide us. And that is what I will keep pushing for, and hope that our leaders in Washington will join me in fighting for what's right for the American people. My commitment to our community, to the great state of Florida, and to our nation will always continue. Thank you to my constituents, to my colleagues, and to my team for an honor of a lifetime, serving the Treasure Coast and Palm Beach here in the United States Congress. And I yield the balance of my time. Thank you.